If it happens in Seattle sports, it comes out in the wash. It's that simple. So our top story tonight on the wash is obviously the snow. Holy shit, that's a lot of snow. Is everyone okay out there? I mean, I know you've at least bought enough bread. I've seen the photos. We got enough bread to last us till at least March. So we got that. But I got to tell you, even as an East Coast guy, that was a lot of snow. I shoveled 4 times over the weekend. That's my quota, man. I love the winters out here because when it snows, the whole city shuts down. It's great. I love the idea that everybody gets a snow day. Back east, that doesn't happen. So kudos to Seattle. I love my snow days. I get to stay home. It's fantastic. As far as I'm concerned, we can snowpocalypse every weekend. But, even as we're here drowning and buried in snow still weeks later, it seems, we know that life begins again because this week, spring training begins. And our actual top story is the Mariners spring training finally getting going down there in Arizona. Now, I have to admit, it's going to be probably a bit of a rough year for the Mariners, but now's the time to get on board. Buy in, buy low, because there's plenty of seats on the bandwagon. This was a team that it seems that they're making some changes. They're reimagining their roster, as Jerry Dipoto likes to say. And it's been a tumultuous offseason. Last year, the Mariners overachieved for about half the season, and then it all started to fall apart. They were one of the leading candidates in the AL West to make the playoffs and fell apart at the end because the truth is they're probably just not good enough. Probably not one of the top 5 teams in baseball, in the American League. And in baseball, that's all you get. 5 teams make the playoffs. Good luck, everyone else. The Mariners are probably not one of those teams. So, to a Philly sports guy, what it looks to me is that this team is processing. Like the Sixers did. They're not necessarily tanking because that's misunderstood. But at the same time, they're building to win in the future. It's a recognition that we're probably not going to win now and mediocre kind of sucks. And the way to win is to build for the future. So I'll tell you what, it's been a very difficult offseason for a lot of Mariners fans, and I understand why. A couple of guys that we've really grown to love on this team that I get down to Safeco Field multiple times a year. Even with the baby, I still get down to Safeco Field. And I'll be there for the high holy day of opening day this year. But tough to see some of these guys go. The fire sale, if you will, started last November with Mike Zunino, beloved catcher Mike Zunino, being traded to the Rays for a couple of prospects, including Malik Smith, who made his way through Seattle on the way to Tampa Bay the first time around, and he'll actually probably be starting in center field this year. It should be very exciting to watch him grow. Highly touted young prospect. I look forward to seeing him play, but tough to say goodbye to Zunino, man. Great catcher. Really could call a game, knew how to work the pitching staff, knew how to work the balls and strikes, knew what the team was doing, but wasn't hitting. Barely over the Mendoza line last year at 201. That is not going to cut it in a team that wants to try and compete. So they shipped him off to the Rays, and we're working with some prospects because that's the other side of this. You got to go with the young guys on long contracts that you can develop. You got to look for that hidden talent, and you got to try and break guys in that no one has and build up the core. We've seen the Astros do it, and it's why we're not one of the 5 teams in baseball in the American League right now, is because they're still benefiting from this process that they went through 5 years ago. So Zunino's gone. Then the big trade is James Paxton, the big maple, threw the no-hitter last year, gets traded to the Yankees. And I don't know if you've seen the photos of James Paxton without his beard and that clean-shaven Yankees look, but it's a little strange, man. I don't know if it works. I miss the big guy up there on the mound with the beard, but we got a couple of good prospects in return, including Justice Sheffield. He was one of the highly ranked Yankee prospects. Could be good for this team. Fire sale continues. We needed a catcher, so they move middle reliever Alex Colon to the White Sox for catcher Omar Narvaez, who is slashing 274, 366, and 379. That's a pretty good slash line, and he's certainly going to be an improvement in the offense over Zunino, but probably not behind the plate. So, again, working with the young staff, got to teach him how to do this, get him feel his legs out here in Seattle, and make sure it all works out. Then the big trades happen. And these might not be the guys close to the heart, but these are some of the big trades. Robbie Cano and Edwin Diaz get traded to the New York Mets for a collection of prospects. This is This is a pure salary dump of Robinson Cano. This is a guy who's really performed up to his contract. It's tough. It's tough when you give guys long-term contracts like Seattle gave to Cano. But the fact of the matter is, aside from the stint on last year when he was out of the game for the PEDs, he really performed very well for this team and did what he was supposed to do, carried a big stick. Hate to see him go. Great Mariner. Would love to see him play here, but you got to move on. You got to make some changes. We'll watch him down there on the Mets, I suppose, terrorizing my Phillies. Speaking of my Phillies, the other big trade was the Mariners shipped off Gene the Hitting Machine Segura to the city of brotherly love in exchange for J.P. Crawford, who was a highly touted Phillies prospect who never quite found his way in that organization. Oft injured, but a lot of potential. A lot of belief in J.P. Crawford. As a Philly fan, I still believe in J.P. Crawford. I think that's a guy that's going to do really well for the Mariners. And the truth is, the Mariners staff loves him. They've loved him all the way along. This was a team that has had their eye on Crawford for a while. So hopefully he'll do good things at shortstop for there. Then, of course, the Mariners also in the offseason, they signed Yusei Kikuchi, the Japanese player. So they're not just resting on their laurels. They pick up Domingo Santana in a trade from Milwaukee. They got Edwin Encarnacion from Cleveland. They got Hunter Strickland as a free agent. So they're putting some veterans around. They got some exciting new talent. They got some new things here. It's going to be fun down there at the stadium formerly known as Safeco at T-Mobile Field, which, again, is going to take a little bit to get used to, like this team, but should be fun to watch. This is not a team that's going to win the division, but it is a team that's going to win some games, and it's going to surprise some people. And one of the reasons I love baseball is I love watching them develop players. I love watching a team build. There's no better payoff than watching it come together down the road. And you got to get in early. You got to get in the bandwagon now. So join us. Plenty of room on the Mariners bandwagon this season. I'll be down at T-Mobile Park and really looking forward to it. Preseason getting underway. Spring training going on right now. Pitchers and catchers reported. Rest of the team comes down on the weekend. We'll get this up and going and see what we can finally do. The first preseason game is Thursday. February 21st against division rival Oakland A's. So watch for baseball. It is back. Life